Hey, folks, this clip is brought to you by Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey from Lockstill Distillery. Make your own luck, just like Tennessee football's fast paced Rattle and Snap offense with Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey. 8-game conference schedule for SEC football in 2024 when Texas and Oklahoma come in. Obviously, at this point, the real question is who will be on that schedule. A lot of people were perturbed saying, oh, well, Tennessee's going to lose the Alabama game. I don't think that's going to happen. Because first of all, it's just a holdover year. It's just kind of like a tweener to where they can get to 9 games because there's a lot that has to be worked out there. A lot of logistics, a lot of TV contracts, just different things that have to happen to get to that 9-game schedule, and it's not here yet. So it's an 8-game, and it's going to open up kind of the possibilities there. And if I had to guess, there's just no way they can get rid of the Alabama game. There's no way they can get rid of the Vandy game. So what does that leave Tennessee? Does Georgia get booted? Does Kentucky get booted? I would guess Missouri. I mean, who cares? Boot that game. Give us something to give us Oklahoma instead, or Texas. I mean, really Texas. Let's play Texas in football. I think everybody's ready for that matchup to happen. But you saw this, Zach. What were your immediate thoughts about the 8-game schedule?
I'm not that. I know people get real passionate about the 8 or 9 game schedule, and I don't know, it really doesn't matter to me because ultimately you're probably talking about, are you playing that 9th game against Missouri, or are you playing it against, Virginia or Georgia Tech or somebody from another conference, Maryland, whatever. It's not that big of a deal to me personally. I'm interested to see how it shakes out, though. I think in 2025, they'll probably move to that 9-game schedule once they can figure out all the TV money. For 2024, I mean, that's the first year that people are really going to expect, depending on what happens this fall, and maybe Tennessee competes for a national championship this fall. I mean, you can't rule it out as close as they got last season. But 2024, I think, is really when people are kind of expecting that. You should have, fully stocked roster. Josh Heupel will have several classes under his belt. Nico will be, your starting quarterback after kind of learning for the offense for a year, hopefully getting into some games and showing, some ability. So and it's the first year of the expanded playoff. So how will this 8-game schedule impact Tennessee in 2024? Because I think it's going to be a little bit tougher for them than their 8-game schedule right now. Because basically they'll be the projected schedule, at least, and this means nothing, is from 24/7 Sports, and we really don't know how anything will look until I think some point they're going to have a primetime reveal show on the opponents. I mean, they have Tennessee. Their guess is that Tennessee will play at Georgia, home against Alabama, at Oklahoma, which they were supposed to play Oklahoma in 2024 anyway, I believe, at South Carolina, at home against Florida, at Vanderbilt, at home against Kentucky, at home against Ole Miss. So you're basically taking, and since they're playing, we talked about this a little bit over text, since they're playing NC State as their non-conference game in 2024, their Power 5 non-conference game, you're basically taking the original schedule and switching out Missouri for NC State. And that could be a tough schedule. You're still playing the three-headed monster of Georgia, Florida, Alabama, and then you're throwing Oklahoma in there. That could be a tough road. I mean, who knows where Oklahoma will be 2 years from now if Brent Venables can turn that around or not.
I have to see Tennessee not have to play one of these teams. Because have we not
take Georgia out, please?
Yes, take that Georgia game out.
Especially
I don't care.
At Georgia?
Ugh. No, nobody wants to go to Athens. What a dump. And what a terrible fan base. It's the worst fan base in sports. And how often have we said, well, if we didn't have to play Alabama, well, if we didn't have to, at this point, I don't think a lot of us thought that we would ever really say this, but here we are. Well, if we didn't have to play Georgia, we were all hoping Georgia would never actually be this good, but such is life. How much have we said that? And finally, you have an opportunity where you can go, here, let's see what it's like without Georgia on the schedule, without these monster opponents that Tennessee has to plow through week after week after week. You can go, okay, Alabama's the monster game, and maybe that's at home. And sometimes you get lucky, and that's the one. Oh, there's your, there's kind of your season as long as you can keep your S together. And we could finally see what it's like to be like a regular SEC East team. We could see what it's like to be Florida Finally, like you have one real game on the schedule and the rest are all a little fluffy. And wouldn't that be nice? Like, but no, I mean, that's not going to happen. If they're going to bring back that Oklahoma game, although who knows, Oklahoma might stink if Brent Venables stays around there. But um, I I just want to see some actual change. That would be the exact same. That is no different at all. Not only is it no different, it's worse because you'd have to go to Norman, Oklahoma and go play at Oklahoma. I mean, come on,
I'd be
Bubs.
interested to see how the other schedules work out because there's going to be a team like I don't think Florida's going to be competing for a championship in 2024, but they do have some talent. Maybe they'll figure it out or hire another coach. I don't know, but like LSU, uh, Ole Miss, some of these other teams that want to compete, Texas, I mean, they're going to be planning to compete by then with Arch Manning. What do their schedules look like? Do they have to play Georgia? Is Tennessee going to play Georgia just because they've always played Georgia? I mean, that would be the only logic in putting this game on the schedule because really, it's going to be your one temporary permanent opponent for one season, which for Tennessee is going to be Vanderbilt. They're going to marry Tennessee to Vanderbilt. It's going to be Alabama and Auburn. It's going to be Georgia and Florida. There's several of these that you kind of know how they're going to play out. Well, at that point, shouldn't it just kind of be random? Maybe I don't know what the logic would be there because I don't think you can hold Tennessee's schedule to a different standard and say, okay, this 1 year we're going to keep these historical deals intact. You're going to play Florida, Georgia, and Alabama no matter what, as well as Vanderbilt because that's historical as well, and that's getting wrapped up into that. Then how do you determine Oklahoma's schedule that doesn't have that history in the SEC? How do you determine Missouri? It doesn't really have these historical, rivalries to go off of, or even, teams like South Carolina or Texas A&M that don't have the rich, some of these tradition-rich rivalries either, even though they've been in the SEC for a while. How do those schedules get played out? What standard do you hold them to? Because you can't hold them to the same standard as Tennessee.
Few things go better with a Tennessee sports victory than an awesome whiskey. And actually, me and Jonathan Crompton had a drink of whiskey during the postgame show of every football win this past season. And more specifically, we had Rattle and Snap Tennessee Select Straight Whiskey. You can see it right there behind me. Log Still Distillery has released a new Tennessee whiskey product line called Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey, named after a long forgotten game of chance. Rattle and Snap is a whiskey for those who make their own luck. There's a 4-year and an 8-year version of Rattle and Snap whiskey. And actually, this one behind me is the 4-year version right here. It's perfect for making your favorite whiskey cocktails or just drinking neat. It's really great stuff. And I mean, you can see it there. The bottle looks great too. You can find Rattle and Snap right now in stores across Tennessee. And Rattle and Snap is also available in Kentucky, Indiana, and Mississippi. So run, don't walk to get yourself some Rattle and Snap whiskey. And follow Rattle and Snap on Instagram at Rattle and Snap Whiskey. That is Rattle and Snap Tennessee Select Straight Whiskey.
That would be my question when they put all this together.
And that's why I say just keep your biggest stalwart games and toss the rest of it out. Give us Tennessee at Texas instead of Tennessee at Georgia. And I mean, maybe
Georgia's going to be off the schedule moving forward once they go to the 9 games anyway.
Should be.
Well, yeah, should be. We assume it'll be Alabama, Vanderbilt, and either South Carolina or Kentucky. And you're still going to play Georgia every 2 years. You're going to play Florida every 2 years. It's not like that's just totally going away.
Yeah. Like, seriously, if you're going to have these many awesome teams in this league, like, give us variety. Give us some interesting new matchups, some actual fresh blood here. And, like, please, I love the old rivalries, but you can still have the couple of them. And let's mix it up and give finally, like, to what I was just saying, like, give us that, like, that scenario we've been thinking of in our heads for so long. Oh, finally, you're free of these games you've always had to go through and you get a new chance, a new opportunity to move through the league against different teams. So
it is absolutely insane. And I know you've mentioned it here and in past podcasts, but the fact that Tennessee has played Alabama every single year of their dominance under Nick Saban, while Georgia has not, is just, and Florida is just such a.
It's so annoying.
Yeah, I mean, no, Tennessee wouldn't have won a championship in the past, 15 years or almost 20 years that Nick Saban has been at Alabama. some of those 5 and 7 years could have been 6 and 6, could have been 7 and 6 with a bowl win. You could have had some of these years that didn't look quite as bad at Tennessee. These losing seasons, if you didn't have to go through that, and I know people love playing that game, and it is a rivalry, but ultimately it's about winning a championship, and that makes it really hard to do, especially when you're playing Georgia and Florida too. So I don't think people need to get upset if a couple of those games go away.
I just want it badly personally for the variety.
Yeah.
And I don't see anybody with a strong connection to like the Georgia game. It's fun. It's historical. It is good.
Florida
but like
means way more to me than
yes,
that Georgia game.
exactly. Like to our generation, it's Florida. To the older generation, it's Alabama. Obviously, to our generation now that Tennessee's finally beaten Alabama again, it's back to being Alabama to some extent. And then the rest, I just let's do something new. Let's figure out.
I mean, who even cares about the Vanderbilt game that much, to be honest?
Dude,
If they
kick Vandy
don't
out of the
play that,
SEC.
I mean, I think it's good for Tennessee to play them because they, actually over the last 10 years, I think they're like 7-3 against Vandy. I think they were like 6-4 at one point. So it doesn't look that good on paper, but hopefully you're moving away from those days where that doesn't really happen. And that game is one that Tennessee kind of wants to play, I guess, because it should be an automatic win for
It's
Tennessee.
a little bit of a freebie ultimately, but I would say it would be a happy day for me if you kicked out Vandy, you kicked out Missouri, you found
I've never understood the Missouri edition anyway.
No, never. It like Virginia Tech would make way more sense. Even West Virginia, that one's a little more geographically weird, but
it is a little. Well, it's closer to
culturally.
Knoxville. It's closer to Knoxville than Columbia, Missouri.
Yeah,
at least. And their fan base is a little more SEC than Missouri's. I mean, those West Virginia fans, they're throwing batteries at people and stuff.
Yeah, it's a nut house. So I would be happy if that happened. So I'm not asking for like an easier opponent or anything like that. But
I am.
Boot these losers out of the league.
I will take the easier opponents.
Well, it's as far as the Georgia game goes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Ultimately, that is the case because Georgia gets to play this little pillowy soft schedule. They never have to play Alabama. They have a joke of a schedule this coming season. Tennessee's literally their only hard game. I mean, come on. That's so stupid. So there you go.
Tennessee plays Ole Miss in 2024. Do you think Lane Kiffin will be the head coach there?
No, I don't. I'm not sure which direction that takes. If it's things
him getting fired or him leaving on his own. I saw one scenario floated, speculation obviously, that he would like to get to Texas A&M even more so than any other place because of the NIL money that he's constantly bashing Jimbo Fisher for using. Kiffin really wants to, be in that situation. And maybe that happens. I mean, if Jimbo doesn't win this year, even with that big buyout, they're going to have to do something. But I think the shines wore off Lane Kiffin a little bit. He stayed put in Oxford just long enough for people to see that he can't really sustain a program. He's never really done it for more than a couple of years.
Yeah, I don't. Although that would be fun to get another chance at him. But we'll just have to see what happens. We'll be looking out for that selection show or whatever it's going to be where they announce the schedule. Charlie Burris.
Be a lot of mad people.
Yes.
I don't know why. I don't know why yet, but they will be mad.
Yeah.